Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Salim, and I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Ralph. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, Salim. So looking forward to talking about a very eventful game last night.
Yeah, a game full of goals, a game full of late drama, but unfortunately not favorable for us.
Well, if you're talking about the 3 points, I suppose that is true. I suppose the other side of the coin is as many pointed out before the game, it's a dead rubber in terms of we know that Liverpool will finish third this season, and basically they're just playing out time. There's the added ingredient of Jurgen Klopp's last games, though.
Yeah, and I read something that Jurgen Klopp was going to do everything in his power not to get the yellow card in this game, so he's available for the last home game versus Wolves. So that was nice to see that he'll be there. I anticipate it'll be very emotional, but before we jump into next Sunday, really a very good game. I thought Aston Villa were very dangerous. I thought the first half we were very fortunate to be up 2-1. But the game ended in a 3-3 draw. And although I was upset at the beginning or right after the game, I thought, realistically, Villa played really well too. And it's probably a fair scoreline.
Right. Well, I would broadly speaking agree with you. Aston Villa obviously had something big to play for, which was a Champions League slot, plus their added disappointment at what had happened in the semi-finals of the Conference League. So there was a lot for them, a lot riding for them and their supporters and what have you on the game. And they're a good team. They're a good team. They were impressive. Having said that, I thought that Liverpool showed that even though they didn't have as much on their plate in terms of what they needed to play for, I think that they showed that they're a good team as well.
Yeah. There was some interesting performances from Liverpool. I thought Gakpo was outstanding. He is making it easy for Klopp to select him.
He's now, yes,
working hard.
Definitely.
He's playing well. He's scoring goals. He's in good form. I think, minus, Allison and Van Dijk as being automatic, first names you write on the sheet. I thought Cody Gakpo is probably the third one he's been writing the last couple of weeks, the way he's been playing. And Elliott also is probably another guy that I thought played well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Elliott has had a good season. He's been used primarily, as we all know, as an impact sub, but he's shown of late that he's worthy of a start and can perform equally as well in that position and that role.
Yeah, it was an interesting first goal. Martinez is an excellent goalkeeper. I still remember in the World Cup against France in extra time, the save he made, I believe, on Dembele. I don't remember exactly who the forward was, but it was one of the best saves I've ever seen, especially in that moment. And Argentina lift the World Cup, and I think he was a huge reason in that final. I mean, what a great final that was just in general, but just to see him mishandle a ball like that is just out of character. He's a very good goalie. So, slightly fortunate there, but we were up 1-0 after 2 minutes. And then Watkins, I mean, he really does Kwanzaa on the second goal, gets around him pretty easily, and Tielemans slots one home. And it was a nice movement, nice counterattack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, talking about both goals, I mean, looking at Martinez's error, I mean, he's a top goalkeeper, but it's the perils of playing that position. I mean, Allison made a dreadful error, schoolboy type error against Arsenal earlier in the season. And when a goalie makes a mistake, oftentimes it's a goal. It's that simple. It's that simple, and it's that deadly for that position. And at the other end of the field, obviously, Ollie Watkins shows his class. He gets round Quansah on the outside. The other thing I would question is there was nobody really picking up Tielemans because he was pretty open. And there was nobody really near him. But it was good play by Watkins, so credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and Quansah being a young guy and Watkins being, one of the best forwards in the league, I think you could probably make an argument across Europe for him as well as a top forward. And these things are going to happen. And, when a good player like that does a young player like Quansah, you kind of, like you said, you have to tip your hat. And you're right, Tielemans was wide open, arrived in the box late, and, credit to him, slotted it home. I had no problems really with the goal. Quansah kind of did the right thing, showing Watkins outside, but Watkins faked a couple times and then really, really kind of just blew by him, unfortunately. But, I was listening to the Anfield Rap, and they were making a very good argument about how well Quansah has played this year. There's been mistakes, but sure, that's going to happen to anybody. But they compared him if, let's say, he was a center back coming from Spain or Portugal or just from another country coming in, and how we would evaluate him overall. Mm-hmm. And I think that the argument there was that he's had a really good season, a really good first full season, even though there's been some blunders here and there. And I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Ollie Watkins got past him early on in the game, but overall, I thought he had an excellent match. Obviously, as we will come to in the discussion, capped off with a goal as well. So I think he's an excellent player. I think he's done very, very well. And the only big mistake that I can really recall from him was the Manchester United game when he played the square pass and was intercepted by Fernandes. And it was an outstanding finish by Fernandes. It wasn't easy. Mm-hmm. So any other time, any other player, I mean, maybe he would have escaped with that one. But I think he's done very, very well. And I get the feeling that at the moment he's keeping Konaté out of the team. And if you look at Konaté, he's a regular in the French national team. And I think that's an accomplishment for a young 20-year-old centre-back.
When you compare Quansah and Konaté, I think Konaté is more, seems a little bit more frantic when he's playing, and Quansah is a little bit more composed. I think I like Konaté's speed over Quansah, but we're talking, not a great difference in speed, but I think Konaté's a little bit quicker, probably a little bit more physical. But I have no problem with Quansah over Konaté at this time. I think it's a good stretch of games here to get him more experience, to get him more comfortable, and yeah, like you said, he's had a good season, and it's nice to see competition like this keeping players out, because it creates more competition during practice. And as a coach, these things, how they happen. What are some things that you look at when you are managing a team and deciding to keep maybe, one player in, one player out, and how do you manage that?
Oh gosh, that's a very broad question. I think that if you're looking at this particular instance here, I think Quansah's the player that's on form, and so that's what's giving him the edge right now. You mentioned about Konaté being frantic. For me, Konate is a much better version of a French centre-back that Liverpool had a few years ago, which was Mamadou Sakho, who also was a regular on the French national team, but was very kind of awkward. He didn't look comfortable on the ball. And I see a little bit of that from Konate. He's a lot smoother, though, in the way that he moves and he plays than Mamadou Sakho. Quansah, I've seen some people compare him to an Alan Hansen type of central defender, and I can see that. He's kind of smooth when he's moving with the ball, and he has the ability at times to get forward. And I don't think we will really know exactly what kind of a player he is like until he's had a long string of games as a player playing first team football, because he came in, I think there were some injuries, he played some games and he's out again. Latterly, as I say, I think he's been given the nod because maybe he's performing a little bit better and a little bit more consistently than Konate. But I think that we're just in the phase where we're trying to see what kind of player he is, learn his game. Can he play week in, week out? And I think that that's the next question that, that the manager-to-be will have.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the 23rd minute, Gomez almost scores his first senior goal, but it was a very good shot, forced Martinez to make a good save, but Gakpo was right there to tap it in. And Coach, the one thing I was thinking about other than Gomez, oh my God, he almost got his first goal, was how long VAR took. And I don't want to get into a long discussion about VAR because it's going to be automated next season. And we had a long discussion last week about it. But my God, I mean, it took like a minute and a half for them to figure it out. And it was just, I mean, if it takes you more than, they should have like a rule. Like if it takes more than a minute, you can't make up your mind. Simple as that. Then what the call is on the field stands. But regardless, good for Gakpo for following it up, being there. He probably thought maybe the pass would come across for him, but great job being right there to tap it in.
Right. Yeah. Sadly, VAR is the thing that dominates when you think about the goal and everything. And hopefully this semi-automated system will cure it. I mean, as a traditional soccer fan, I still hate these things where you look at it and you can't really see that he's offside, but some kind of digital computer or something tells you that he's an inch offside or something like that. I don't think fans of our generation will ever get used to that. It seems pointless. It seems pointless to me, and it doesn't help the game. So yeah, we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again in the future, but sadly, it's here to stay.
Arsene Wenger proposed something about a year and a half ago, which I thought was very interesting, that if any part of your body is in line with the defender, it's onsides, which is kind of a it's very hockey type style, because if any part of your body is on that blue line before the puck gets in, you are onsides in hockey, which I thought would be interesting. But however, there would still be those times where, is he in line with the defender? Is his hand like by the defender? But I thought that was a very interesting proposal, because that would also increase the amount of goals. But
it would certainly increase the goals. So would that mean that the trailing leg, I mean, just say, for example, if somebody's running through and his trailing leg, even if it's his toe is level with the defender, that he's onside?
Correct. Yeah, that was the thought process that Arsene.
Actually, I hadn't heard that before. And I suppose that in a sense would be changing the offside rule, but I think I would prefer that to this thing that we have now, where they're throwing lines across the field, and I think it would make it simpler. But it doesn't seem to be that the powers that be in the PGMOL want to make it simple. They want to analyze it and dissect it and, whatever.
Yeah. Well, on to the 48th minute. Kwanzaa, Elliott, great cross. I mean, that was a perfect header. Came back to where the ball was coming from, top corner, looped over the goalie. I mean, they don't get better than that, do they?
Well, if he can do that from time to time, as well as his defensive duties, then I think Liverpool have got a player there.
Yeah. What the goal? I mean, I was kind of doing something else, so I missed it, and then I watched the replay, and I was just floored by it. But what happened to get the free kick on that side? I don't recall. I don't know if you do.
I don't, to be honest. But I certainly remember the header.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the 48th minute, that was the Kwanzaa goal. 85th minute, Maka has been fantastic all season. Has a couple errant touches, but one that just Jhon Duran gets on top of and drives the ball home, and nothing much Alisson could do about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that McAllister has been a great signing. He's looked a little bit off the pace and jaded of late. And to be honest with you, that was a pretty basic mistake for a player at that level and his ability level. But I guess it happens, and needlessly gives the ball away. And unfortunately, and we saw this in the Tottenham game as well, all of a sudden we're back to the Simon Mignolet days again, it feels. And you think, oh gosh, they're going to equalise. And they did. I mean, it was fortuitous, I suppose. But, but having said that, one incident, West Ham, where the ball comes off Alisson's head, and then it seems like everything seems to change, the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly the same here. The dynamic within the team seems to change because they were 3-1 up. They seem to be in charge. They seem to be strolling towards a victory. Bad mistake. The dynamic changes. And then you feel they are going to equalize. And they did.
Yeah. In the 88th minute, so just 3 minutes later, it was fortuitous for sure. I don't think Jhon Duran knew exactly what was happening, but hey, these things happen. It's football, and
yeah. I mean, it's just like the Martinez goal at the other end,
right?
That was fortuitous. So it kind of evens itself out. But the point is that the mistake by McAllister changes the dynamic of the game, just as Alisson's mistake against West Ham changed the dynamic of the game. And all of a sudden, I sense that thing, as I keep saying, the Simon Mignolet era where Liverpool were very uncertain at the back. And I really get that feeling again, the latter stages of a game.
Yeah, it's been feeling like this for, about a month or so. I think all of April, or midway through April and through now, has been very different.
Yeah, definitely. Because whilst everybody highlights all of the chances that Liverpool miss, and okay, that's an issue. I think you have an issue at the other end of the field as well, and they seem to go through these phases in a game when they start to panic and lose control.
Yeah. A couple things I kind of noticed in the game was Luis Diaz seemed like he was fouling everybody. I've never seen him foul as many times as he did in this game. It just seemed like, I'm not sure what happened there, but I'll have to check the stats, but I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head. And I was like, man, what's happening here? He's fouling a lot, which is strange. Not really impactful in the game. It's not like he gave away a penalty or anything, but I thought that was kind of weird. The lineup without having a left-footed left back, we talked briefly before the podcast started that Robertson was not in, and we weren't sure why. And We could probably do a little bit of better job researching that prior, but we just thought that was a little strange, and that Tsimikas wasn't selected over Gomez.
Right. Well, I think that that's a comment in itself, and I think one thing that you have to take into account here is the mindset of the manager. He's finishing his time at Anfield, and I think that that's a factor why all of a sudden he's rewarding, as it were, certain players. Elliott is beginning to start, and the role that Joe Gomez has played, not just this season, but over previous seasons, I think he's just rewarding him. And he's done well in that position. Tsimikas, I think, is a solid understudy for Andy Robertson. I don't think he's anywhere near the same level, but he's a decent replacement. He's a decent replacement, and I have a feeling that he's one player that could well be shipped out over the summer. And that's from a club perspective and also a player perspective, because I'm not sure how old he is now, but he's getting on in his career. He plays for his national team. I think he's going to be wanting to play more, and so I don't think we'll see Tsimikas again after this season. Rumor is that Gomez may go as well if he feels that he can go to a place where he's going to play more. And I think he prefers to play in the middle as well. He sees himself as a central defender.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought Tsimikas up, because I started to think, well, who is somebody that we would bring in that could kind of replace Tsimikas and then eventually jump Robertson? And the name I thought of is Alfie Doughty from Luton Town, because they're going to go down, and he's a marauding left back. He's 6 foot. He's big. He's strong. A lot of crosses in the box. I thought that maybe that'd be interesting, and it'd be very a la Robertson when he left. What was it? What was the team that got relegated?
Hull
City.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Doughty's a good shout. I mean, like he has impressed this season. And even though Luton are on the way down, I think they've showed up well in the Premier League. I think they've showed up well. I think they've got a good manager. And after the initial phase where they were getting used to things, they have tried to play constructive football in a more practical way than, say, Burnley, for example. And Doughty has been at the forefront of that. And so I think that's a good shout. The rumor is, though, the American player, Robinson, down at Fulham, that Liverpool are serious and taking a good look at him, which I'm guessing probably has something to do with the fact that he must be coming towards the end of his contract as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Tsimikas, as I say, I expect him to leave. And incidentally, I just saw something that I don't know what the issue was with Robertson, but I believe he's going to be back for the weekend.
Yeah, that's great. He needs to be there in Klopp's last game. I'm sure.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Any other observations of the game that you had that you want to go over?
Well, I think it's kind of followed the pattern of recent games where Liverpool, when they were on a better run not so long ago, even though there were wild and crazy moments, as it were, they seemed to have better control of situations. There wasn't this kind of the last 10-minute meltdown type situation. In fact, it was probably the other way around, because they were conceding early and then working their way back in.
Right.
So I guess it kind of reflects the team where it is right now, in as much as that they're a good team. They have a lot of good players, but they need to establish more control of the games consistently. And I think particularly at the back, because I think that once you get your defense sorted out, if it's calmer and it's solid and it's resilient at the back, that kind of percolates its way through the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really feel that that's the case right now.
Yeah, kind of like Arsenal is right now in the back.
Arsenal very, very solid at the back, and it gives a sense of security to the team for sure.
Yeah. Who's your man of the match?
Well, I'm going to give it to Kwanzaa, actually. Okay, you could fault him to a degree in as much as Ollie Watkins gets past him, but Ollie Watkins is a top forward this season, one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some serious pace, and he's on form, and he's confident. And who knows, that could have been Van Dijk out there or somebody else, and Watkins has the ability to do that. Other than that, I thought Kwanzaa looked good. I thought he was solid, reliable, and of course he capped it off with a goal.
Yeah. No arguments there. I would say maybe Harvey Elliott also, again, had another good game. But yeah, I would say between those two, I would choose either one. I think you can't go wrong.
Right. So yeah, that's the Aston Villa game is in the books, and now the final farewell on Sunday for Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, and this one I wouldn't miss for the world. I mean, this is going to be very emotional. I'm going to have the TV very loud. I want to hear the chants. You could actually hear the chants at Villa Park about we're so glad that Jurgen is a Red, that chant that they have. And you could hear it through Villa Park, which I thought was pretty cool. And I just can't, I mean, Anfield is going to be, jumping. It's going to be quite a scene. People that are going to be there, it's going to be quite an experience to actually be in the stadium for that. It's a time to celebrate Jurgen Klopp, right? And his famous saying of how, turn doubters into believers. He did that over 9 years. He, Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup. I'm sure I think we won an FA Cup in through there as well. So just overall, what almost decade, and definitely a legend of the club. And it's going to be, that stadium's going to be on fire.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think it will be, and hopefully it'll be a memorable occasion and not an anticlimax like a few years ago when Steven Gerrard retired.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt badly for Gerrard because he'd had such a great career at Anfield, and his last game was an anticlimax, 3-1 defeat to Crystal Palace. And his very final game was even worse, which was a 6-1 defeat at Stoke City. And that's the only time that I can ever remember Liverpool conceding 6 goals in my lifetime. So that was kind of sad. And hopefully the Wolves game will turn out to be a little more uplifting and positive than that.
Yeah, the only time I can think of more than 6 was actually against Villa.
Oh, yeah,
7-2.
Yeah. You're right. So there were those 2 occasions. There's a couple of times when I can remember them conceding 5, but those 2 games, I guess, stand out from that perspective, because I can think of an awful lot of games the other way around where Liverpool have scored 6 and beyond.
Yeah. The lineup for the Wolves game, does Klopp kind of put a lineup out that mean, like, the players that mean the most to him? Is it, because we mentioned, or you mentioned Gomez, he's kind of has some loyalty to him, and that's why he's put him out there instead of a left-footed Tsimikas. And obviously Robertson will be back, I think you said. So Robertson is in, and Van Dijk, Allison. Is it still Kwanzaa, or does he go to Konate?
Well, he could play Gomez there. I don't know. I mean,
that's true.
I don't know what's in.
That's true.
I don't know what will be in the manager's mind. I think it'll be primarily to win.
Sure.
To win and play some attacking football. I think that'll be the primary thing in his thoughts. So I don't think he'll make many changes from the game yesterday. So maybe he brings Gomez on. I don't think he'll start unless he decides to play him in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And midfield, I think he'll probably keep Elliott. I think he'll keep Elliott. Will he give a break to McAllister? Maybe. Will he give a break to Endo? Maybe. Don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait on bated breath on that one. I think Gakpo will start.
Yeah.
I think the forward line will be the same.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll make changes there.
Yeah, I think it's been the past 2 or 3 games where it's been that midfield with Elliott in there and the forward line with Gakpo instead of Darwin. Speaking of Darwin, there's a lot of news he made in the last week or so. He removed all his Liverpool posts from his Instagram account, and now we're hearing that Barcelona is interested in acquiring him. I don't know how they have any money to do that, but which is kind of interesting. And Liverpool has been, as supposedly, allegedly, set the price at $92 million, which,
well, Barcelona aren't going to pay that
for sure.
So look, there's going to be a lot of newspaper talk this summer about Núñez, about Salah, about who's coming in, who's going out, because there's a changing of the guard. So I think that's inevitable. I understand that Núñez had maybe been criticized, or his family being criticized by some fans. And I don't know, I'm assuming that was on social media, and that kind of led to him taking down some of his posts. And if that's the case, then I think that's pretty sad. But we live in a social media world now, and it's a sad fact, but it's true. And you don't like to see things like that happen, but it does. Unfortunately, it happens.
What are your thoughts on Darwin? Should we keep him? Should we move him on? What are your personal?
I like him personally. I mean, it'll come down to what the manager wants. Arne Slot. It comes down. He's going to look at all the players, and he's going to. First of all, they all have a clean slate. I mean, he'll know what's happened with them before. I think he'll be advised to move maybe some players on, like a Tsimikas, for example, because it's probably at his point of his career where it behooves him to move on. But I think players will have a clean slate. I think players will come in. I guess the question is what the lines of communications will be between the new director of football and then the new manager. I think broadly speaking, in a lot of clubs now, it's a bit like American sports where they just recruit players and then they give them to the coach and say, right, do something with them. So how will it work with the new manager? Obviously, under Jurgen Klopp, it had evolved so that there was good communication between the two. He was getting the kind of players that he wanted. And obviously, Edwards and his team at the time were very data-driven, and I believe that's very prevalent now. So it's trying to get the balance between the two at this point, and now you've got new guys in both positions. So we have to wait and see how that'll kind of unfold a little bit. But some of the interesting things for me, and we can talk about this at the end of the season, is that Liverpool right now have a crop of very good young players.
Yeah.
If you go from the back, they've got Kelleher in goal. I mean, he may want to move because he's played a lot and he's shown his ability. In defence, you've got players like Bradley and Kwanzaa. In the midfield, I think you've primarily got Bobby Clark, but you've got Stefan Bajcetic as well, who I think would have played a lot more this season, but he's been plagued with injuries. So you've got two very strong contenders there, and then you've got a James McConnell, who's also made some strides. And up front, Doak has been injured, unfortunately, but he's pretty, he's a hot shot. I mean, he has pace to burn and he can score goals as a wide forward. So we've not seen him. And just watching some of the recent games for the under-21s, Kumas and Jayden Dans, they look like real talents to me. So these are good players. Now, they're not all going to make it, whether it's Jurgen Klopp as the manager or there's somebody else. But the new guy has got choices to make here. How many, if any, of these guys does he bring through and make serious contenders for the team?
Yeah, I've been ever since you started mentioning that you watched, like the whole academy and the whole club as a whole. You watched like the under-21s. I started watching some of the highlights, and Kumas looked incredible in the under-21s. Like you said, he looks like a real top talent as well. The one thing I wanted to kind of mention, piggyback on what you mentioned the American system of recruiting players. I read something that they're actually going to change Arne Slot's title to head coach versus manager to then mirror the system, the American system of a general manager kind of is in charge of looking at players, obviously in conjunction with the head coach. They talk. It's not just a blind system there, but I thought that was kind of interesting, and the fact that you picked up on that pretty quickly was.
Well, it's the way that the game is going. I mean, if you go back historically, the manager, as such, once upon a time, was also the secretary of the club. So did admin. Wow. So that's going way beyond my lifetime, even. So, it's just the way that the game has evolved. Now you've got all these different recruitment people. You've got all these different coaches, and it's changed massively.
Well, we got one last game under Jurgen Klopp versus Wolves. Any predictions?
Well, I would like to predict fantastic game, a great send-off, and a big win for the Reds. Wolves, I think the manager there has done a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Given all of his circumstances, and managers like himself and the Luton manager, I mean, they should be in contention for manager of the year. And actually, across Stanley Park, I think Sean Dyche should be in contention as well for the job that he's done, given all of his problems. But yeah. I mean, hopefully it's a good match and it's a great send-off and a good result for Liverpool and for Jurgen.
I have one game in mind that I think if it were to be similar to it would be amazing, and that was the Norwich City game back when Jurgen first became the manager.
Oh yeah,
and Lallana scored that goal, and
the 5-4 game. Yeah,
that would be incredible. That game was unbelievable.
Well, if it's going to be like that, it's going to be like last night's game against Aston Villa, where there's no control, where everybody's just hell for leather, dashing down the pitch one way, going down the pitch the other way, and So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Liverpool fans, for listening. Coach, thank you as always for your insight. And we will we'll reconvene next week after the Wolves game, and we have some special types of episodes that we want to release during the off season to talk in depth about Liverpool as a club. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope you enjoy those as well. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye now.